All right, let's get started. Welcome, welcome. Um, a lot of people wanting to join this workshop and the others in the series virtually later at a different time on their own time, and that's totally fine. So we're going to jump right in, regardless of how many are registered, and if people are joining live, that's cool. And uh, if it's just us, that's fine too. We're gonna get started. Let's do it. All right. Beautiful. That looks right. So this is the Peace for the Peacemakers series. There are five, yes, there are five workshops in this series, and going to be some of them active yoga classes. Some of them are going to be more for educational work and kind of workshops like this one. And then some of them are meditations. And I really appreciate it if you decided to gift yourself some time by practicing this series. And let's jump in. So what we're offering today are some tips and tricks, right, for self-regulation. Um, we're talking about being able to deal with stress, anxiety, and worry around political, environmental, all kinds of crises that are going on in the world right now. And the reason that I designed this set of workshops was because I have a particular set of skills, right? I'm a yoga teacher for nearly 20 years. And in the past year, I've quit my teaching English job and I'm focusing only on teaching yoga. So I'm teaching yoga in person and online, trying to make a business out of it, which is, has its own challenges, but it's been really liberating as well. And I'm trying to do my dharma, my work in the world. And so in this world we live in, these are my set of skills, and my natural propensity is to read the news, to doom scroll like everyone else, and possibly to panic, right? But we can't panic. We have to do our work in the world. So my work is hopefully helping you, the people who are organizing and working for change, helping people to fill your well and um, stay sane, stay able to function um, so that you can do your work in the world, right? If we panic, we're no good to anyone. So that's it. That's who. I'm Cindy, and that's what and why. So welcome. So I have several different tips for ways that we can. Um, it looks like I raised my hand and I never unraised my hand. That's wonderful. I don't know how to unraise my hand. Editing this out in the recording, but I have several different yogic methods for stopping anxiety, dealing with fear, getting back in your body. and just regulating yourself. Regulating our nervous system doesn't mean bypassing what's going on. It doesn't mean becoming apathetic or stopping participating, right? It is just about survival and about living, right? We have to continue to live. We can't let anyone take that away from us. And we have to survive so that we can fight another day. So these kinds of regulatory tools are not about making us zone out or become so zen and calm that we don't care, right? But simply avoiding shutting down, becoming burned out. And the first one is simply sensory awareness, right? Um, yoga at its core is about truth, and it's all about awareness of how things really are, and eliminating the kinds of illusions that are keeping us from understanding how things really are. So this is yogic, but it's also neuroscience. We know that when people are in panic, they often need sensory rest. They feel overstimulated and they need to calm down the nervous system so that they can be in the present moment instead of anxious about the future or regretful about the past, right? So to start with, we have sensory rest. Anyone who knows me knows that I talk a lot about different kinds of rest. There are something like 7 different kinds of rest. So sleep is obviously one, but sensory rest is about removing yourself or soothing your overstimulated self. We have a lot of information coming in, can be very stressful, right? So removing yourself from the environment if you can, if you're in a noisy, uproarious environment, going into a dark room, turning off the lights, lighting some candles, having nice smells around you, taking a warm bath or a shower, weighted blankets and pressure on the body can be soothing. Wearing loose and comfortable and soft clothing instead of tight or constricting clothing, and going outside, touching grass, touching trees, smelling the air. These things all can reset the sensory overwhelm that you might be feeling. The next one we can try right now if you'd like to. So it's called the 5-4-3-2-1 technique, right? And this is all about using our senses to ground us in the present moment, to know where we are right now, and to remind ourselves that in this present moment, we are safe. So it's not always true. And if you're in an unsafe situation, you have to activate fight or flight, right? You have to run away, or you have to stand your ground. But if you are taking in information, mental stimulus that's making you feel like you're under threat right now, you need to reconnect with what's actually around you. So if you want to practice the 5-4-3-2-1 technique, you can do so right now with me. So we're just going to sit with our spine straight, let the shoulders relax a little bit, just soften the body slightly. And then we're using our external senses to ground with reality. So we start by looking, using our eyes. So looking around the space where you are right now, and just notice what are 5 things that you can see with your eyes at this moment. So for example, I can see a plant, actually several, a bookshelf, a lamp, etc. So what is around you? Naming it to yourself, um, noting the color. Notice 5 things you can see. Next, 4. We're going to look around us. You don't actually have to touch them, but we're going to find 4 things we could touch in the space around us and noticing the texture. And if it's close enough, you might put your hand on it, but you certainly don't have to. So you could say, noticing a soft cushion, a smooth tabletop, right? A rough basket, noticing around you 4 things you could touch. And then using our ears, let me take off my headphones for this one. So listening to the space around you. What are 3 things you can hear from where you are right now? And so maybe you can hear raindrops on the window pane. I can hear the fan on my laptop. Just 3 things that you can hear with your ears in this moment, identifying them, just noticing them. And see if there are 2 things that you can smell. I'm wearing some perfume. There's also a candle lit behind me. I can smell that. Maybe there's coffee brewing. And then you don't actually have to taste it, but noticing around you 1 thing that you could taste, right? So you might notice that there is a pot of coffee on the counter. You imagine the taste of the coffee in your mouth. If there's not anything nearby that you feel like you could taste, then you can literally taste, what does the inside of my mouth taste like right now? And then we just notice, how do we feel after checking in with the senses, um, and grounding in your experience in the present moment? Do you feel any more relaxed, any more at ease, any safer than you might have felt before? And then at the bottom of the list, you'll notice the 333 rule, which is kind of an abbreviated format, has the same purpose, right, as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. And 333 rule means we rest our eyes on 3 things that we can see. And in this case, we're activating the nervous system by moving as well. So moving the eyes has a great effect on the nervous system of bringing it into the present moment, taking you out of your thoughts. So you look around, rest your eyes on 3 things that you can see, listen, and notice 3 sounds that you can hear in the space around you. And then move 3 body parts. So moving the neck, moving my fingers, and moving the shoulders. And that's awareness. That's how we use awareness of our senses, our external senses, to ground ourselves. So these are really quick and simple tools that you can use when you're feeling overwhelmed. Let's look at the next slide is about breath. In yoga, control of the breath we call pranayama. And prana is breath, but it's also energy, right? Life force energy. In other traditions, they might call it ki or chi. We can think of it also as aura, right? The meridian system of acupuncture or the chakra system in yoga philosophy is talking about prana. And so we consider in yoga that controlling the flow of breath controls the energy flow in the body and the mind. Body and mind in yoga are one thing in the body mind, right? And we can also see this in contemporary Western science. There's research that says that, breath affects the nervous system. And maybe the nervous system is the closest parallel thing to this idea of the yoga prana body, right? Affects your thinking, affects how your organs function, all of these things. So breath control can calm someone down if they're feeling stressed, if they're feeling anxious. Sometimes going into our body when we're very anxious can make us feel even more anxious, right? You may have experienced this if you've ever had a panic attack and someone asked you to take a deep breath. You felt like you couldn't, your chest didn't expand. This can make you feel even more anxious or stressed. So we don't recommend that you start practicing tons of breath techniques in the moment that you're feeling stressed. But if you train yourself to practice controlling your breath when you're already calm, you can trigger the nervous system to respond to that kind of breathing. And one of the most balancing, foundational kinds of pranayama in yoga is alternate nostril breathing. So in this case, we consider in yoga that one side of the body is more active, more fiery, more it's the home of active emotions, anger, excitement, right? And the other side of the body controls things that are more calm and more peaceful, sleepy, all of these kinds of things. So we practice breathing through both nostrils evenly in order to balance and calm the nervous system. We can actually practice this now if you like. And what we're going to do is sometimes people use a mudra in order to choose which fingers to use, but you also don't have to. And some people who I've spoken with said that these mudras are uncomfortable to them. They are not required. So instead, would you just want to use the thumb? And we use the right hand. So right thumb is for the right nostril. And then the ring finger and middle finger together for the left nostril. So I'm going to talk you through it first. What I'm going to have you do is close the right nostril with your thumb and then inhale for 4, right? And then you're going to exhale for 4. So both through the left nostril and then close the left nostril, inhale and exhale. There are different patterns that you can use. This one I find very simple for people to understand and not get confused. So I'll talk you through it. Let's start sitting up nice and tall. Relax the shoulders. The breath is normal in and out. I'm going to close the left nostril and inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. exhale, 3, 2, 1, right, 3, 2, 1, exhale, 3, 2, 1, switch, 3, 2, 1, exhale, 3, 2, 1, switch, 3, 2, 1, exhale, 3, 2, 1, switch, 3, 2, 1, exhale, 3, 2, 1, last breath, 3, 2, 1, exhale, 3, 2, 1. And then let your breath return to normal. Notice how you feel. With regular practice, alternate nostril breathing can be very calming, very balancing to the mind and to the body. So a few more tips for you. We're going to talk about somatic shaking. And shaking is a form of energy release. So I will talk about what I mean by this a little bit first. Shaking or tremoring. This practice is based primarily on a theory that stress, trauma is stored in our body tissues. So, it's most commonly attributed to Dr. Peter Levine. And in his books, he said that he noticed animals often shake. You might have seen, if you have a dog or a cat, you might have seen this. So after they experience a stressful event, you have a bunch of zebras, right? And a lion just ran through there. After the lion is gone, zebras don't just return to eating grass, right? You will see them do some shaking like this. And the theory behind it is, we go into a fight or flight state in extreme stress. And this shaking, this tremoring, allows the animals to release the stress hormones that are built up in the body, energy, tension, potential energy built up, or stored trauma, fear, for example, emotions, right? So for humans, we don't do this, right? We may sometimes do this unconsciously, but a lot of that kind of movement is frowned upon in society. So often there are no tigers, there are no lions, nothing is right in front of us causing us our stress. So much of it is just information, right? And therefore, we hold on to it. We are in an elevated response, a fight or flight or freeze state, but we have no place for the stress hormones and the emotions, the energetic signatures of these emotions, and our energy that we have collected for fighting or fleeing. We have no place for it to go, right? So in, this theory, we can shake it out, right? As a physical practice, this is one of the easiest practices you could pick up. It is just moving, right, freely, and can feel a little odd at first. So if you were going to practice, you would be standing or possibly sitting in a space where you are not going to bump into anything or you're not going to hurt yourself by moving. And notice how you feel in your body and then start shaking. For me, I hold a lot of tension in my hands. If we use phones a lot, we have a lot of tension in the palm of the hands from this kind of movement, right? So it feels really good to shake out the hands, right? So starting with the hands, maybe bring it into the arms, jumping or grounding into the ground. We shake and move the limbs really freely, or we rock, right? This can also be a tension reducing movement for the body. And while you're doing it, you imagine that you are getting rid of these tense sensations, stress, negative emotions, right? So it's recommended that people practice this maybe daily, even about 5 minutes. And in my yoga classes, I often like to start class with shaking. I think it really softens the tissues, and that is just like beyond the emotional or stress related aspect of it. It's really good for the fascia. It gets the blood flowing and it increases the sensitivity of our muscles and our skin, which helps us be more aware in our yoga practice. So whether you're using it as a kind of performance enhancer for your movement practice or stress reduction, really recommend shaking. Mindfulness is again awareness, right? So we sent our senses outward and now we're pulling our senses inward. In yoga we call that pratyahara, right? That is the withdrawal of our reliance on the external sense organs and then this internal sensing. In somatic theory they call it interoception. That is how you feel that you're hungry, feel that you are breathing, feel where you have pain, right? Internal awareness. And mindfulness is, again, a way of being present. So if you're dealing with a lot of trauma, which is things from the past coming into the present, right? Or fearfulness, which is things from the future, right? That may or may not be coming to you eventually, you pulling those feelings into the present. You are um, you are not aware of the level of safety that you might have in the present moment. So mindfulness is awareness of the present moment. This is not necessarily meditation, at least it's not yogic meditation, which is complex, but has more to do with ability to focus and concentrate than mindfulness. But this is still a practice that trains us to be able to shift our attention, right? Instead of focusing on my thoughts, which are constantly moving, I focus on the present moment, what is happening right now. And that teaches my mind and body to narrow my focus, which helps with meditation, but also helps us not feel fearful, overwhelmed, uh, anxious, etc. Right? So this exercise is really, really simple. Could not be more simple. We combine two elements. So the first one is touch, using literally our own touch. We can calm the nervous system. So, of course, hug your friends, pet your dog, like engage in physical touch as an active community. But the the mind body is affected by touch, even if it comes literally from ourselves. So we're using this somatic touch to calm ourselves, and then mindfulness by watching the breath, not trying to control it, but noticing it. So if you feel comfortable, if you feel safe where you are right now, you're welcome to close your eyes. You don't have to. We're going to place one hand on the chest and one hand on your belly. And then just notice the sensation of your hands resting on the chest and belly. And then begin to watch the breath. So we're just noticing how the breath moves and how it causes your torso, your chest, and belly also to move without trying to change it or control it in any way. Take a few moments here, a few cycles of breath. And just return to your normal awareness and check in with yourself. So, the idea of all of these techniques that I'm trying to share with you today is that you should be able to do them either in a short amount of time or with very little investment, right? You don't have to roll out a yoga mat, you don't have to go anywhere, and you could add these things easily into your schedule without giving yourself more to worry about, more things to stress about, right? Nobody has a lot of time. We are all stuck trying to make a living while we also try to do good in the world. It's a little bit too much. It's more than anyone can really do. And these should be small. Doesn't mean that I don't think you should practice yoga for extended periods of time with extreme discipline. I do. I mean, I think everyone should. I would love it if you did, because it works best that way. And more people doing yoga, I think, is better for the world. But I myself do not practice for the amount of time that that might be recommended because I also get overwhelmed, right? And I also don't have time sometimes. So this is the world we live in. And if you could just do that, I hope it would make you feel better. So we have a couple more to share with you. Speaking of rolling out your mat, I can move so you can see all of these cute little figures. All right, so asana, asana, asana is posture, right? So this is where we're getting into physical postures of yoga. And what I just said is so true right here, because of course, the yoga postures as a discipline, prepares us for meditation and allows the body to be free and comfortable so that it is no longer a distraction from, enlightenment, etc. It also, in more practical, contemporary terms, is a way of achieving flexibility and strength and balance, right? All important things, mobility, important things for, aging healthfully, being in shape, and all of that kind of stuff. So, yes, a, a whole class of yoga postures multiple times a week is going to be best. But every yoga posture, every asana has effects on the body and mind in and of itself, right? If your yoga teacher is putting together a series, a sequence, it's because these postures interact with each other and have effects that can be sort of woven together. So the class at the end creates a specific effect, ideally. And um, so that means, think of them as a little medicine, right? This is not a cure-all, of course, but where are we needing some help? Perhaps hanging out in one or two yoga postures could actually make a difference. As wild as it sounds, I believe that it's true. So I have these cute little figures are illustrating for us some of the main kinds of postures that you'll find. And I want to talk about what the effects of doing postures like this can be. And this includes the simplest or modified versions of these postures. It doesn't have to be really dramatic. So maybe you can see my little arrow here. So like this is a hard posture that this little figure is doing, but the illustration is that this is a balancing posture. Balancing literally on one foot, balancing on one's hands or head, or even more simplified, balancing on one foot with one hand on a chair, lifting the feet while seated in a chair so that you're balancing just on your hips. Any of these balancing postures help us focus the mind. So you're feeling distracted, you're thinking about lots of things, then practicing balancing postures helps us to quiet the mind, concentrate, develop our concentration and our ability to shift our thinking. You cannot balance on one foot or on your head if you're thinking about the news, right? So balancing postures shift our focus. This one here, back bending postures. Back bending, opening at the chest. Back bends can be deep or shallow. It can be really small. If you were to just roll your shoulders up and back, lift your sternum and your chin, you're already in a back bend. This is spinal extension. And spinal extension stretches the muscles at the front of the body, which close in and become tight when our breath is shallow, when we're feeling fearful and we protect ourselves. So the effect of back bending postures is usually energizing, usually freeing for the breath, allows for deeper breath, often attributed to more positive mood. It's not always going to be the case, but there's a lot of woo-woo stuff in yoga, right? Anytime you're opening the chest, of course we think about the heart, and that makes us think about compassion and all of that kind of stuff. There's no harm in thinking about loving kindness and compassion while you do a back bend, and it may indeed make you feel a little bit better. Next one, seated poses. These are seated poses, meditative poses, where the spine is aligned and you're sitting on your knees or with the legs crossed or in a chair with your feet supported on the floor, anything like that. Calming, balancing to the nervous system, grounding. These are the seats that we take when we do something like that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise that we did at the beginning of the session. We sit, notice our breath, notice what our body is doing. These are the meditative seats. So these postures promote introspection, calm. Over here, she's doing this goddess squat. This is a strengthening pose, right? So the thighs are very active in poses like this. Anything that is a standing pose, a really active pose, or also supporting with the hands, strengthening the upper body or the core, strengthening poses. Physically, actively, actually strengthen our body, right? But they are also fortifying for our courage. If you feel strong, you will feel more brave. It's hard to feel helpless when you're feeling physically strong, right? So we practice these also for discipline. In yoga, we call it tapas. Next weekend, I will be teaching a couple of two different yoga workshops that are physical practice sessions. And one of them is for tapas, or discipline. These are to energize the body and create a sense of strength, and discipline the mind when we go through things that are difficult with success, right? Then we're motivated. And so tapas is really important for developing a yoga practice, but it's also really important for activists or people in helping professions who need to show up, right? And need to continuously show up even when they are feeling fearful. Strengthening. Here she is. Forward bending poses. Forward bending poses. You can see this little image that the eyes are looking at the knees, right? So we started by grounding ourselves by looking outside of ourselves, noticing what's going on around us. Then we move in to pratyahara, pulling the senses in. When you're overwhelmed, when you're overstimulated, forward bending can be very calming. Of course, it's also good for flexibility of the back and the backs of the legs. There's all kinds of forward bends in yoga, but the energetic effect, the sort of pranic effect is that we pull inward and start to block out all of the stimulus and information that's coming in from around us, outside of us. So if you need sensory rest, a forward bending pose can be very good. Next, over here, inversions. Inverted poses are anything where your feet are higher than your heart. This particular one, I think there's a wall here, right? Legs up the wall pose, which is a relatively gentle one, but we can also see this effect in handstands, headstands, right? Those are more extreme versions of an inverted pose. And these are representing perspective shift. And I guess that's a little bit woo-woo again. This is very much a metaphor. But because of the way that it affects sensation in the legs, the flow of the lymphatic system by turning ourselves upside down, it's kind of a myth that it's going to affect your blood flow really super dramatically because as we know, the blood moves through the body using a pump, right? Pump system. The heart is the pump, and then the arteries also are, we're pushing the blood actively So there's only so much we can do by turning ourselves upside down to affect or change the blood flow, although there's some evidence maybe that it takes some of that the heart doesn't have to really work as hard, right? Um, Perhaps so, but inverted postures make your legs feel good, which is really a simplification. But I think that having these positive, good sensations, especially when we're on our feet, maybe you're marching, right? Maybe you're out there for a long time on your feet and your feet are sore, your ankles are swollen, making your legs feel lighter and and giving you pleasant sensations like that is a perspective shift. It makes you feel energized and better and more rested, as if you could do it again tomorrow. So I think, and I've never felt sad after I stood on my head, uh, but maybe that's me. I don't know, but energetically, we talk about perspective shifts, flipping things on their head. And then finally, we have twists, spinal twists. I'm doing this like I'm wringing out a towel, right? Again, it doesn't necessarily work that way. There's a lot of people in the wellness sector that talk about, detoxing your organs. I think that our organs detox themselves, but I still think it's healthy to move the spine in every direction, side bends, forward bends, back bends, and twists. It maintains our mobility and definitely like you're constricting some areas of the body and expanding some areas of the body. Twisting, much like inverting, is refreshing, has a refreshing effect on the body. And in yoga, the body and mind is really one thing, right? And honestly, in contemporary thought, that's also true, right? Because the mind, many materialists think the mind is just brain, and brain is clearly body. So what you do to your body is going to affect your thoughts and your brain and your mind, emotions also. So choose choose just one. Choose just one if you're feeling overwhelmed, and practice just one or two poses for just a few breaths and see how it makes you feel. Mantra. Great. So I know that's a wall of text. So sorry about that. Um, Mantra are Sanskrit words or syllables. We usually use them for meditation, or they may be used for prayer, right? Some of them are religious and may come through Hinduism, but many of them are not directly religious, right? However, traditionally, Sanskrit is believed to have an energetic effect. So the literally the sounds, the syllables of the language are believed to have frequencies, right? Sound energy that affects body and mind. And because of that, traditionally in yoga and other Vedic and Hindu practices, you will hear about chanting mantra either out loud or in the mind to affect the body and the thoughts. This is when the mantra are prayers and also when they are not prayers, right? They're still meant to be an effect. You may have heard that om, right? The syllable om is the cosmic sound of the universe, things like that. Um, and this is just to say that the sound of the om should have an effect on the body and the mind. And so it's used in meditation to facilitate conscious concentration, and also to soothe and quiet and calm the nervous system. So we use mantra because concentrating on one thing, if you've ever tried to do it, regardless of whether you are like me and have ADHD or not, the more that we take in sort of micro information, constant streams of small bits of entertainment, the worse we become at sustained concentration on one thing. And even thousands of years ago, when that was not really the case, when taking in information was nothing like it is now, even then people had trouble concentrating. And so ancient yogis use mantra or mudra, which is hand positions, or yoga asana, or uh, literally like mandala, things to look at, to train their concentration, because it was not easy. Meditation has never been easy, and it's only getting harder, right? But because it's such a potent tool for concentration, mantra is really good at helping us shift our attention. I've talked about this lots of times. We're not trying to ignore the negative things that are happening in the world, right? But we do need to shift our thinking away from our own negative thoughts and feelings, because we spiral, right? We continuously think about things instead of doing something, or instead of resting, which is a kind of doing something that would be productive. And instead, we are paralyzed. So we do need to be able to shift and focus on something that is positive. So whether the mantra is kind of simplified, non non-religious short phrases, or whether it is prayer, it has a positive intention, right? So I want to talk to you about a specific, really simple mantra, and this is so hum. You may also hear people say hum sa, right? Which is a kind of a pun in a way, because so hum, so means that, right? Same like sa. So is that. And hum or hum is I am, right? So hum in Sanskrit means I am that. And hamsa also means I am that, but it also literally means swan. And so there's like a traditional story about a swan, and in that way, hamsa is a kind of pun. But you can do this meditation using either way, so hum or hamsa. Um, what do we mean by I am that, right? In yoga or Vedic thought, I am that means I am all that is, right? I am one with the universe, right? Or I am the same stuff as the universe. I am that pure consciousness. For religious people, I am that, supreme or divine being, whatever it is. So this is this belief of being one with the universe, being a part of the universe, uh, or being whole unto yourself, is the point of most yoga practice. So this is a really important traditional mantra, but it's also quite soothing for a lot of people. And if you're here, or if you're watching this recording, then it's highly likely that you see yourself as a part of a larger whole, right? Not just an individual separate from everything, but wanting to be connected and one with everything. So I think it's quite appropriate. And practicing Soham, usually we connect it with the breath. So it can connecting the syllable in our mind with our inhalations and exhalations. And I have seen it practiced different ways. So the way I learned and the way I most often do it is I imagine that my inhalation is making the sound. So every time I breathe in my mind, I hear the sound. So, and every time I breathe out, it's as if my breath was making the sound right? So we inhale so, and we exhale hum. So, um, and so I think this will be the last exercise that we do. So why don't we practice this one together? So find a comfortable seated position with the spine straight. If you feel safe to do so, you may close your eyes. And I recommend taking a mudra, index finger and thumb touching, and the back of the hand on the knees. The breath comes in and out of the nose. Normal breath, not trying to control your breath or change it in any way. We'll mentally repeat this mantra, imagining every time you inhale that it makes the sound so. And every time you exhale, you hear in your mind the sound hum. Inhaling so. Exhaling hum. Let's try this for maybe 10 breaths. Inhaling so. Exhaling hum. And try about 3 more breaths. Inhaling so. Exhaling hum. And relax your hands. Return to normal breathing. Open the eyes. And always when you practice this kind of stuff, the last thing, excuse me, the last thing to do is to just check in with yourself and be aware of how you are feeling, how you might feel different, and also forgiving yourself if you don't feel different, because these things take practice. They are tools for your toolkit, but they work better when you practice them more often, right? Right. That's it. So thank you so much for joining me, whether you were here or if you're joining later. And it looks like people are really responding to the option to watch these on your own time, which is great. So just a reminder, if you haven't already, and there are other workshops in the series that you want to do, please do use the Google form to register, and I will be donating half of the fees, and there's a sliding fee, right? So, pay based on what you can, what you're able to, and feel free to message me about the any particular direct direct funds that you have heard about that you're interested in, because I do want to make sure at the end of all these workshops, when I send the final donation, that it's going to an area where is going to do the most good. So like what is an area of specific current need? Um, and I will leave the chat running so you can drop your links to anything that you're working on so we can see them and join with each other. And that is it. So, Hariam Tatsa. Thank you for practicing with me.